So, when you're facing something like insolvency here in Canada, it's not just about your personal spreadsheet. The system actually looks at your entire household. Today, we're going to break down exactly how this family unit idea works, what it means for what you pay, and maybe more importantly, how you can get through it as a team. First, let's just get some perspective. Look at this number, 137,295. That's how many consumer insolvencies were filed in Canada in just 1 year. It's a huge number, and it tells you one thing really clearly. Financial hardship is a challenge for a lot of Canadians. If this is you, trust me, you are not alone. And as you can see right here, this isn't a problem for just one generation. Sure, people in that 35 to 49 age bracket make up the biggest piece of the pie, but financial struggles hit everyone, from young adults who are just trying to get started all the way to seniors who thought they'd be relaxing in retirement. It's an issue that spans every stage of life. Okay, so if you find yourself in a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal, how do they figure out what your payments are going to be? Well, it all comes down to one core concept, and it's called surplus income. Let's really dig into what that actually means. This is the question, right? It's the one that causes so much stress and anxiety. But the truth is, the process is way more standardized than you probably think. It's not some random number that someone just pulls out of a hat. It's all based on a very specific government-mandated formula. So here it is, the official definition. But let's make it simpler. Think of it like this. The government sets a baseline, a threshold, for what a household of your size needs for a reasonable standard of living. Any money your household earns above that line is considered surplus income. Your payments are then calculated based on a piece of that surplus. Okay, so what exactly is your household? This is where the legal idea of the family unit comes into play. And the key thing to get here is that it's not just about who you're married to or who your kids are. It's literally anyone living under the same roof who is part of that shared household economy. Anyone who either brings in money or benefits from the bills getting paid. All this theory is one thing, but to make it really click, let's follow a real-world example. We're going to meet a couple, Emily and Steve, and we'll use their situation to see exactly how all these rules and calculations actually work in practice. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to walk through the exact formula, step by step, to figure out the surplus income payment for Emily's family unit. The entire process really just boils down to these four main steps. First, you figure out the total household income. Then, you subtract a few specific expenses. After that, you compare what's left to that government standard, and finally, you calculate your own proportional share of whatever is left over. It's a pretty logical path, really. Okay, let's plug in the numbers for Amelia and Steve. Together, their available monthly income is $3,800. Next, we subtract that government standard for a two-person household, which is $3,318. Do the math, and that leaves a total monthly surplus for their family unit of $482. But wait. Does that mean Amelia is on the hook for that full $482? No, she's not. The system has something called a family situation adjustment. And this is super important because it makes sure that the person who's actually in bankruptcy only pays a share of that surplus that's proportional to what they earn. It's really all about fairness. And this is where we get the final answer. So Amelia earns about 74% of the total household income. That means she's responsible for that same percentage of the surplus, which comes out to about $355. Then the law says she has to pay 50% of her share. And boom, that's how we get to her required monthly payment of $177.57. So getting that number is one thing, but actually managing your household budget to pay it, that's a whole other ballgame. And this is where the whole thing shifts from being a legal calculation to being a practical, day-to-day conversation about money. It really, truly requires teamwork. The foundation of any budget that's actually going to work, especially during a time like this, is getting brutally honest about the difference between a need and a want. A need, that's essential. Shelter, food. A want is a desire, the vacation, the dinner out. Just being real about that difference is the first, most critical step to getting back in control. So for Emily and Steve, what does success look like? It comes down to strategies just like these. They have to sit down and create a budget together. They need to plan for any income that isn't the same every month, scrape together even a small emergency fund for those uh-oh moments, budget for things like car repairs that don't happen every month, and, most importantly, they have to keep talking openly about money. All right, we have covered a lot of ground, so let's just boil this all down to the absolute key takeaways. We've talked about the legal stuff and the practical side of things. What are the most important things to lock in as you move forward? Okay, number one, your entire family unit, everyone contributing to the household economy, is part of the math. Number two, the payment calculation isn't some mystery, it's a predictable formula, and knowing that can actually take away a lot of the stress. And finally, and this is the big one, none of this works without teamwork. Seriously, open communication and a shared budget are your most powerful assets. And that really brings us to a final thought. We've looked at all the numbers, the laws, the strategies. But when you strip all of that away, you're left with a simple question, aren't you? In any financial challenge, whether it's something as serious as insolvency or just saving up for a goal, isn't teamwork, that partnership, your single most valuable asset?